Hizzle, all for shizzle dizzle. We got an excellent show here today. So, May 9th, which is coming up in 3 days, Russia's going to have a parade commemorating the victory over Nazi Germany in World War II. Putin has invited several world leaders, Xi Jinping and some others, and I believe what's his name? The guy from Hungary, that's part of NATO. I think he's going too. So I have the title "All Eyes on the Parade in Russia." I spelled it Russio. That's the correct pronunciation, Russio, but we call it Russia over here. So will Zelensky blank out? Will he black out and do a terrorist act? I don't know. That's what Russia's anticipating. That's what a lot of countries are anticipating, that Zelensky will create a terrorist act. This is what this is these are the talks. Um, Myself, I hope Zelensky does not do such a terrible act, because that will pretty much solidify his downfall. But desperate times call for desperate measures, and Zelensky being a desperate man right now is no telling. He already tried to invade Kursk. He failed at Kursk. Um, he has made some terrorist attacks within Russia at the concert, if y'all remember the concert where people were killed, and then he bombed the airport with the bombers. And now they're saying that they're not putting it past Zelensky to commit a terrorist act on May 9th. So there will be high security, and if he does attack it, it'll be a failure, and that will just ramp up um, the attacks, and that will pretty much solidify Russia marching west past the Napier River. Trump has Trump has signed a rare earth deal with Zelensky, but Zelensky, again, like I said, he's in a position of desperation. He is in a position of unpredictability. Well, it's almost predictable. I wouldn't even say unpredictable. All his actions, being that he's desperate, are unpredictable. And I guess, and I'm predicting that he will an attempt based on his history to attack Russia in this parade while they're having the ceasefire. I think the ceasefire started. It started last Thursday. Was it May 3rd? I believe it started last Thursday, and it's going to continue until May 9th, which is, like I said, the celebration of May Day, celebration of World War II victory over Nazi Germany. And like I said, Russia does expect an attack from Zelensky. Um, but what this will do is justify, after the ceasefire, it will pretty much justify Russia going into pushing forward. Number one, breaking the ceasefire and pushing forward very aggressively into Ukraine, and if not taking, um, I think it's Odessa. They predict that Odessa will be taken next, and Kharkiv. Odessa and Kharkiv are the next major cities, or oblast. I think they call them oblasts. I keep saying cities, regions that being oblast. Those will be the next two to be taken. What they're saying is that they predict that this war is not going to end. Um, they're saying Trump is trying to get our money back by the Red Earth deal, but the thing is that it's complicated, man. Zelensky, again, he ran away from the deal. Now he wants the deal. Then he's reneging on the deal. Then he wants the deal. Zelensky doesn't know if he's coming or going, but again, I understand Zelensky's situation. For those of y'all I gave a homework assignment to, um, I guess that window of opportunity for him to escape Ukraine is over because now they have his wife in custody, basically under house arrest. And so Zelensky has to not capitulate to the demands of Russia or the U.S. But he signed the deal, so in a way, that's capitulating to Trump's demands because, like I said, Trump's demands are much like Putin's demands when it comes to the land, when it comes to capitulating, obviously, Crimea, and then the other two lands left, that being, well, Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporozhye, possibly Odessa, and possibly Odessa and Kharkiv. So, yeah, looks like, yeah, just keep an eye on May 9th because that's going to determine what shots Putin called because Putin's in charge. Basically, he calls the shots right now. Doesn't have to give in to any demands when he's winning, obviously. So um, I don't know how you know Trump is trying to take them back to the original agreement that they had, but it's hard because under the Biden administration, Obama, and even under Trump's first term, um, a lot of the Minsk Accords weren't honored, and then expanding in NATO and all that. So Russia is very reluctant, and so they're not having no ceasefire. It doesn't make sense to them. They're going to keep pushing forward until the war ends. So um, their line of attack just depends on Ukraine surrender. So if Ukraine never surrenders, then pretty much expecting Russia to keep going and however long it takes for them to reach Kiev. So they will continue this original goal. Some may argue and say it was. Well, either it doesn't even matter at this point. The point is that Zelensky can't surrender, so that means utter, total defeat of Ukraine, and that means Russia marching all the way up to Kiev. Not even marching all the way up to Kiev, but taking over Kiev and marching all the way up to the Poland borders. I do see that happening. Um, War continues. I could see them taking. It'll probably take them 3 years, and that's what's left of Trump's presidency is 3 years. So by the time Trump is out of office, Russia would have been take Kiev right at the end of Trump's term. That's what I predict. So that's probably what Putin will probably do. He'll probably has a plan, a 3-year plan to take Kiev totally while Trump is in office because Putin is uncertain. Sergei Lavrov, Russia, Moscow, Dmitriev, all of them are just leery when it comes to America. Very leery. They don't know who's going to come after Trump. So the thing is, let's take Kiev now. Let's take Kiev while we can. Um, Europe, NATO's in great fear right now. They're saber rattling. They're puffing out their chest. But usually when people do that and talk loud, it's usually because they're scared. They're scared, and They don't want Russia marching up to the Polish border. And I'm sure Poland doesn't want that either. But hey, you marching, you got to look at it in a perspective. You guys are marching up to Russian border. So when Putin returns that same energy, it's like y'all trip out. And let's talk about this. When you give people the same energy that they give in you and they trip out, what is with that? Okay, what is with that? Why do people give a certain energy and you retain that same energy, then they trip out on you? Well, this is what NATO's doing. And NATO, you deserve that stress because you guys are putting out the energy of, yeah, well, and I guess, well, we're mediators now. So it's funny because Colonel Douglas McGregor said, yeah, we went from agitator to mediator. It's funny, yeah. I mean, it's funny because it's true. Under the Biden administration, if y'all heard Kamala Harris, you said, oh, we got to push forward to the last Ukrainian. And everybody during the Biden administration kept saying to the last Ukrainian, meaning we're going to fight till they can't fight no more. That's basically what they're pushing, even if it means killing off all the population of Ukraine. So careful what you wish for. Careful what you wish for. And but the thing is, Kamala Harris and Biden, I call him Biden, Obama, Biden. Um, they don't have to jump into the war. They'll just push the Ukrainians to the war. They don't have to fight it. Neither do the Brits. Brits don't have to fight it either. Boris Johnson and all them, they don't have to fight the war. But I'm not here to cry over who can and who will and who won't fight in a war, because I'm just calling it like I see it. I'm just calling it like I see it, and how I see it is that Russia is pushing forward. Um, as of right now, it's a ceasefire because of the remembrance of World War II. And after May 9th, it's almost like Putin. Um, what I suspect, what what I suspect is that Putin and Russia are expecting an attack because they've gotten so many attacks from the game. Y'all remember that bomb when he bombed the Moscow? He bombed Moscow with that damn drone. Yeah, Zelensky has done so many rinky-dink attacks on Russia. So it wouldn't surprise me if he attacks the parade, which Zelensky, I guess, is pressured to do so because Zelensky was ordered no peace. No peace negotiations, no capitulations, no negotiations, nothing. It's all out war. It's victory over Russia or nothing. Well, I guess it's going to be nothing for Ukraine because it's not possible in any way. If you see the map, it's like a crescent moon. And, if you look during World War II, Russia, they got the same tactic. If you look during the Napoleonic era, it's the same thing. Russia always had this tactic of encircling their enemy. They encircle their enemies and then they just kind of, it's almost like a boa constrictor just constricts. Once they encircle, or even, well, I don't want to say fully encircle, but a crescent moon, then they just start to close in. And once they close in, that's it. If you guys, there's a channel, I want to post it. I'll post it later. Um, I'll post it later of how Russia has this technique of encircling, man, and it works every time. And a real quick glimpse of that strategy is when you look at Kursk. Kursk is a region that inside of Russia that Zelensky thought it was a good idea to send forces up into Kursk. As y'all know, I said it was a suicide mission because, they were going to automatically encircle you, and that's what they did. They encircled them quickly. Now, what's interesting about the whole curse situation is that that's when they first started seeing, they started seeing, they started seeing, they started seeing Korean soldiers. They were saying they were seeing Korean soldiers. So, you know, um, they're saying that Korea is officially in the war against Ukraine. I guess they're doing a tail end of it because there's not going to be much of Ukraine to fight after they crank up the May 9th parade. So that's all I have for you guys. Thank y'all for the like. Thank you for sharing the video. And yeah, I'll be back with more news, as I observe, analyze, and break down these strategies, break down, these talks and negotiations, and non-talks and non-negotiations as far as Zelensky. So with that being said, man, I'm out, y'all. Peace.